In the bustling heart of Rome, the Aurelian Way bustled with merchants, soldiers, and whispers of intrigue. Lucius Varro, a minor scribe in the Senate archives, lived quietly, recording decrees and treaties. Yet, beneath the calm surface of the city, currents of betrayal stirred. The emperor's health waned, and factions prepared for a struggle that could reshape the empire's destiny overnight. In the bustling heart of Rome, the Aurelian Way bustled with merchants, soldiers, and whispers of intrigue. Lucius Varro, a minor scribe in the Senate archives, lived quietly, recording decrees and treaties. Yet, beneath the calm surface of the city, currents of betrayal stirred. The emperor's health waned, and factions prepared for a struggle that could reshape the empire's destiny overnight. Rome's lifeblood was not gold nor armies, but the grain shipments arriving from Egypt. Without them, the plebeians would riot, the Senate would falter, and the streets would choke with chaos. Lucius knew this. What he didn't know was who had left the scroll. That night, he dreamt of burning granaries and hungry mobs, and awoke to the sound of distant bells tolling before dawn. The next day, he visited the docks under the guise of reviewing trade ledgers. Ships bobbed in the murky Tiber, sailors shouting in a dozen tongues. He noticed one galley bearing the Egyptian falcon emblem sitting idle, its cargo still sealed. A scarred centurion barred his approach, muttering that the Senate had ordered delays. Lucius sensed politics in every rope and plank of that ship. By week's end, the grain shortage began. Bakers rationed loaves and prices doubled. Discontent brewed in the markets, where old women cursed the Senate and young men sharpened knives. Lucius, carrying the scroll in his tunic, sought counsel from his only friend Marcus, a retired legionary who now tended a tavern. Marcus listened, brow furrowed, before whispering, "If grain is power, someone is seizing it." Following Marcus's advice, Lucius trailed the scarred centurion through the streets at dusk. They wound past torchlit alleys to a villa on the Esquiline Hill. From a shadowed doorway, Lucius saw senators, merchants, and officers gathered around a table covered in maps of the Tiber and its warehouses. Coins and wax seals passed hands. It was a conspiracy to starve Rome until the people demanded a new ruler. Among them sat General Quintus Drusus, the man whispered to command half the legions in Gaul. His weathered face betrayed no emotion as he traced routes from Egypt, marking choke points. Lucius understood the danger. If Drusus controlled the grain, the Senate would bend to him or fall. Quietly, he slipped away, the knowledge burning like a brand in his thoughts. Back at his modest quarters, Lucius wrote an anonymous letter to the emperor's chamberlain, revealing the plot. He sealed it in red wax, praying it reached the palace before Drusus acted. Days passed without response. The streets grew restless. On the seventh day, riots broke out at the Forum, with mobs looting bread stalls. Lucius knew the city was on the brink. In the chaos, Marcus burst into Lucius's room, blood on his sleeve. "They know," he gasped. Soldiers were searching homes near the archives. Lucius fled with only his cloak and the original scroll. Together they slipped through the Subura's winding alleys, avoiding the glint of spear points. Lucius realized this was no longer about survival. It was about stopping Drusus before Rome tore itself apart. That night they reached the city walls, bribing a gate guard to slip out toward Ostia. There, the grain fleets anchored in the harbor, awaiting release orders. Lucius hoped to find loyal officers among the captains. Instead, he found Drusus himself, overseeing the transfer of grain into guarded storehouses. Soldiers in crimson cloaks patrolled, their eyes sharp as daggers. Marcus created a diversion, setting fire to a storage shed. In the confusion, Lucius crept aboard one galley, unsealing the grain holds. Dock workers, unaware of the plot, began unloading sacks into waiting carts. By dawn, word spread that the emperor had ordered grain distributed freely. A lie Lucius whispered to the right ears, but one the people were desperate to believe. Marcus created a diversion, setting fire to a storage shed. In the confusion, Lucius crept aboard one galley, unsealing the grain holds. Dock workers, unaware of the plot, began unloading sacks into waiting carts. By dawn, word spread that the emperor had ordered grain distributed freely. A lie Lucius whispered to the right ears, but one the people were desperate to believe. Drusus's plan unraveled as crowds stormed the warehouses. The general, realizing control was slipping, rode to the city to salvage his influence. Lucius and Marcus returned in his wake, the streets now filled with chants of gratitude for the emperor. In truth, it was the lie and the stolen grain that saved Rome from hunger, if only for now. At the palace gates, Lucius finally gained audience with the chamberlain. He presented the scroll and recounted every step. The chamberlain listened gravely, then ordered the Praetorian Guard to arrest Drusus upon his return. Within days, the general was in chains, accused of treason. Rome exhaled in relief, though the scars of near famine lingered in every market stall. The emperor, too ill to speak publicly, sent a sealed commendation to Lucius, granting him a modest estate outside the city. Marcus returned to his tavern, though patrons now spoke of him as the man who helped save Rome. Neither of them told the full truth, that it was not heroism, but desperation that had driven them. In time, his story faded from the Senate's records, just another nameless act lost to history. Yet the city endured, its marble streets washed clean of blood, its granaries full. Somewhere in the archives, perhaps, a forgotten scroll still rested, bearing 7 words that once decided the fate of an empire. He who controls the grain controls Rome.